Good morning, everyone. The board meeting of the Gateway Development Commission is now called to order. Today, we are holding a public meeting of the Gateway Development Commission's Board of Commissioners. Today's meeting is being held in person, but public comment will continue to be solicited virtually. Audio is being live streamed by the Gateway Development website. The Commission will solicit comments from members of the public who have signed up for in-person comments this morning, and the Commission is also soliciting comments from the public that may be participating virtually today. A form for soliciting these comments is posted on the Gateway Program website for those who wish to submit a comment for today's meeting. Acting Secretary Maria Anderson, may I ask you to conduct the roll call and report on the public notice for today's meeting, please?
Co-Chair Glenn.
Here.
Co-Chair Graywall-Verk.
Here.
Vice Chair Kosha.
Here.
Commissioner Barbas.
Here.
Commissioner Dominguez.
Here.
Commissioner Braz.
Here.
Commissioner Herlinsky.
Here.
We have a quorum. Adequate notice of today's public meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Gateway Development Commission has been provided in accordance with the Commission's enabling legislation. The agenda and public documents pertaining to the board meeting have been made publicly available on the Gateway Program's website. Notice of the meeting was posted to the website 5 business days before the meeting, and public notice of the time and place of the meeting was provided to appropriate media outlets. A video recording of this meeting will be posted on the Gateway Program website.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Before we move forward with today's board meeting, we are joined by New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill and would like to accommodate her schedule so that she can provide public comment. Please note that there will be a public comment period later in the meeting today. Governor Sherrill, who I know well, who I call a friend, is someone that has been fighting for the Hudson Tunnel project for a very long time, not just today, but of course when she was a congresswoman. And I think all the way right up to full funding grant. And she played a pivotal role then, and I know she continues to play a pivotal role today as the governor of New Jersey. And I know that in her agenda, when we look at it and hear her, especially over the past several weeks, Gateway Development has been in the forefront of what she's been fighting for, and we'd like to thank her for that. So thank you, Governor Sherrill, for being here this morning. And with that said, I would love to invite you to the podium for your remarks. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone here today. And now that the weather is getting warmer, hopefully next time I'm here I can meet some of the New York commissioners in person. But before we start, I want to address the collision that happened last night in LaGuardia, which killed both pilots and injured dozens of passengers. The cause is being investigated. I am receiving regular updates, but our thoughts go out to the families of the pilots and to all those recovering right now. Thank you to the members of the board, to all the advocates and members of the public involved in this important work, all the workers, especially from Labor's Local 472, who've been such fighters for this project. Everything you've done to stand up and speak out for what's right here really matters. As we come together today, I'm so glad to say that work on the Gateway Tunnel has resumed. The Tunnelly Avenue Bridge is done. Hundreds of pieces of the first tunnel boring machines are set to be assembled. The slurry wall at the Hudson County shaft is finished, creating the dry protected shell where future work will proceed. And most important, 1,000 workers are back on the job. It's a big deal. And it's all because of the hard work of so many of you in this room. But let's be real, it should never have come to this. The President of the United States illegally froze the funding. And every day that things were on hold, costs increase, costs to taxpayers, to commuters, and to workers, and delays cost money. They cost time that hundreds of thousands of riders will have to spend waiting for relief. And worse, they could cost tens of thousands of jobs that this project is set to bring. So in New Jersey, together with New York and all of you at Gateway, we said no way. We took the administration to court and we won 3 times. Last month, Washington finally released the latest tranche of funds that it had been withholding. But unfortunately, we know that's not the end of the story. Washington owes $16 billion total on this project, paid out each month. Funding for the biggest, most urgent infrastructure project in the nation cannot be threatened every time Donald Trump decides to break the law. This project needs certainty. It needs a reliable funding partner. It needs the Department of Transportation to pay what it owes on time. It needs that to keep this project on scope, on schedule, and on budget, to honor its construction contracts, to keep the best workers on the job, to build a tunnel that's safe and secure for the 200,000 commuters a day who are depending on it, and for the $20 billion in economic growth it will bring. So we'll be in court again on April 16th. We're seeking an injunction to make sure work continues uninterrupted until this case concludes. And we're seeking a final ruling to make clear for good that the federal government has no legal right to withhold any of these funds. We're grateful for everyone's partnership. As you know, they called me the tunnel-obsessed Congresswoman, and now I'm proud to be the tunnel-obsessed governor. We here in New Jersey are not going to quit until Gateway is done. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you, Governor Sherrill, for your comments and for your continued support of the Hudson Tunnel Project. Appreciate you being here this morning. I would invite the New Jersey Commissioners to speak at this time.
I'd just like to thank Governor Sherrill for being here with us today and for her indispensable support for the Hudson Tunnel Project. Her voice in Congress got this project started, and as governor, she's guided us through one of the toughest challenges that keep this project going.
Thank you. Commissioner Braz?
I'd like to echo Commissioner Herlinsky in thanking the governor for her steadfast support. Time and again, she has been at the forefront of advancing this important project on behalf of all New Jerseyans, especially the working men and women of labor. And the GDC Board is grateful for her constant and steadfast support. So thank you, Governor.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Herlinsky and Commissioner Braz, for your comments. The next item on today's agenda is a report on the minutes of the January 27th, 2026 meeting of the board. I will now turn to Ms. Anderson for a report on the minutes of that meeting.
Copies of the minutes of the meeting of January 27, 2026 were delivered in electronic form by me to the governors of New York and New Jersey on January 28, 2026. The time for action by the governors of New York and New Jersey expired at midnight on February 11, 2026, at which time such actions recorded in the minutes went into full force and effect.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. We will now turn to the GDC staff for an update on the Gateway program.
Brenda, Holly, Molly. Thank you, Governor Sherrill, for joining us today. Your steadfast support for the Hudson Tunnel Project and dedication to delivering this critical investment in our region's rail infrastructure have been on full display since our last board meeting. Thanks to the lawsuit you brought with our partners in New York, the federal funding that has been withheld from the project was released, and the hundreds of jobs that were impacted by the construction pause have now been restored. We would not be in this position today without your and many other supporters, including many people here that have been advocates for the project. The Hudson Tunnel Project is the most urgent passenger rail project in the country, and you have my word that GDC will continue to do everything in our power to deliver it. Next slide. Today, I am glad to report that GDC has received all the federal funding owed to date for the project. We have used these funds to resume work at all of our construction sites and restore all the jobs that were impacted by the construction pause. This is an important step in the right direction. But if the federal government does not continue to disperse the funds for the project, we will have to pause construction again in 2 to 3 months. We hit every milestone on schedule and on budget before the government froze funding for the Hudson Tunnel Project, and we're pushing forward full steam ahead now that we're back to work. It's impossible to deliver a project of this scope and complexity without confidence that our funding will be available when we need it. GDC, our contractors, and the hundreds of workers employed on the project need to know that the federal government will continue to honor its funding commitments until the project is complete. As a result of the temporary restraining order issued as a result of New Jersey and New York's lawsuit, the federal government has provided all the federal funding currently due to GDC. This includes reimbursement for costs incurred from October through January, as well as our February and March reimbursements. In total, we have received more than $254 million in federal reimbursements from funding sources including our SIG grant, FSP grant, RAISE grant, and the federal RRIF, Railroad Reconstruction. Receiving these disbursements is a good sign, but it does not guarantee that the federal government will continue to disperse funds going forward. If the government stops dispersing the funding allocated to the project, we will be back in the same situation we were on February 6th in 2 to 3 months. I'll now have Rob Hickman, Chief of Federal Affairs, come up and give the next part of the presentation.
Commissioners, on February 2nd, GDC filed lawsuit against the federal government in the U.S. Court of Federal Claims. Our lawsuit included 8 total claims. A hearing on the first six claims took place on March 12th. The 6 claims addressed payment of the $205 million that the federal government withheld from October through the end of January. In the decision released the day of the hearing, the court found that GDC had established that the federal government was in breach of contract for the Hudson Tunnel project. Even so, the court dismissed the 6 claims because the federal government had already provided the funds those claims were seeking to release thanks to the separate lawsuit filed by the states of New York and New Jersey. Importantly, in addition to finding the federal government had breached its contracts with GDC, the court also made it clear that the court would provide expedited review of similar claims if they arose in the future. The court has not yet ruled on GDC's 2 remaining claims seeking to recover damages related to the breach of contract and construction pause. A status conference to establish the schedule for adjudicating those claims is scheduled for tomorrow, March 24th. I'll now pass it off to Jim Sterace, the Chief of Program Delivery.
Good morning, Commissioners. Construction is fully resumed on all the construction sites in New York and New Jersey. While construction has resumed, the pause had an impact on the labor force and the projects. Hundreds of workers lost pay. Production on the job sites was negatively affected due to uncertainty during the weeks leading up to the pause, during the 2-week pause, and due to the time it took to bring back the labor force in the post-pause to the pre-pause level. GDC spent millions to secure and maintain the construction sites during the pause. And we're still working with our contractors to understand the full extent of the costs associated with the pause. Despite the construction pause, significant progress has been made this year, including delivery and the beginning of assembly of the components of the first tunnel boring machine at the construction site in North Bergen. The second tunnel boring machine has been shipped and will begin to arrive this month. It has already actually begun to arrive, and the rest of it by the end of the month. Completing the Hudson County access shaft slurry wall, setting the stage for the shaft excavation, which will begin soon. Placing more than 2,000 cubic yards of concrete for the tunnel floor slab on the HYCC Hudson Yards Concrete Casing Project in New York. Building an overwater platform for soil strengthening work around the Manhattan bulkhead, and shifting the cofferdam in the Hudson River further east towards Manhattan. This project is about 70% complete. So just a little detail about each of the projects to give you a visual. This is Tunnelly Avenue. This is in North Bergen. Some of the pictures you see here, that's on the left top, is the cutter head for the first tunnel boring machine. You get a good view here of what the entire site looks like. The bottom left is the future portal. That is where the Palisades Tunnel will begin. And on the bottom right is the assembly of some of the parts of the tunnel boring machine. And the top is the entire site. That bridge that you see there is the Tunnelly Avenue Bridge. That is complete. That was an embankment that has been, a bridge has been built in lieu of the embankment to allow the access for the future tracks. And to the right of that picture is where the portal will be. Next slide. On the Weehawken side of the Palisades Tunnel, and the Palisades Tunnel goes through a rock mountain through the Palisades from North Bergen to Weehawken. That is the shaft. The circle you see on the left side and the right side is the shaft that will allow the tunnel boring machine to be lifted out when the tunnel is done through the Palisades, and that is also the beginning of the Hudson River Tunnel boring operation. The slurry wall is complete. That's a wall that surrounds the shaft and gives a protection to allow excavation. And again, the slurry wall is done. The excavation will begin very soon. And what you see in the middle there is slurry wall construction. It's a fairly narrow wall, and that's reinforcing that is inserted into the narrow excavation, and concrete is poured in to create the structure of the wall. Next slide. Hudson River ground stabilization. The Hudson River soil is soft, and part of the risk mitigation for the program was to strengthen that soil. And a good view of the operations on that left picture. That's a cofferdam, which is essentially a steel box that allows work to go on inside that box to stabilize and strengthen the soil. And strengthening the soil means you drill in, as you drill in the riverbed, you mix the soil with a grout, a light concrete material to give a strengthened box for the future drilling operation for the Hudson River Tunnel. Next slide. The Manhattan Tunnel Project. This will be built on a historic landfill. This is a challenging project that also has a shaft and a slurry wall, which is under construction. The slurry wall is. And this is the end of the Hudson River Tunnel project. This is where the Hudson River Tunnel TBM will be extracted. It also includes a lot of soil strengthening. On the top right, you see a marine platform, and that is part of the staging area where the soil strengthening near the west bulkhead of the Manhattan shoreline will be done. And that strengthening includes a variety of different methodologies, but this project is underway and ultimately connects into the next project. Next slide. Which is the Hudson Yards concrete casing. What you see on the left there is a great picture of how the concrete casing, Section 3, will connect into the existing Hudson Yards tunnels that were built with Hudson Yards. The top right picture is preparation for the last pour of concrete for the floor slab, which is done. That was done a few weeks ago. It was about 2,000 cubic yards was placed. And the bottom right is a visual overhead of the High Line and how the tunnel, the excavation rather, goes under the High Line and connects into Hudson Yards. While construction at the active sites has resumed, critical work on future construction projects was delayed. Two construction packages, the Hudson River Tunnel Project and the New Jersey Surface Alignment Project, were planned to start in 2026, but we have not awarded them yet because of the uncertainty about the ongoing access of federal funding. We are working to award these contracts as soon as possible. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Tom, and the GDC team for the update. It's always great to see the visuals on the project, super impressive. We are now going to turn to the public comment. I note for the record that the Commission has solicited virtual comments from the public in advance of and during today's meeting. A form for soliciting these comments was posted to the GDC website in advance of the meeting. The comment form for virtual participation is available throughout today's meeting. The commissions received 3 virtual public comments by 5 p.m. on Sunday, March 22nd, 2026 from the following: Carlo Casa, New York Building Congress; Samuel Turvey, Rethink NYC, Empire Station Coalition, Penn Community Defense Fund; and Carla Corquera, Carla Multi-Services. If any virtual comments are received during today's meeting, they will be distributed to the board and posted on the Gateway Program website after today's meeting. All public comments received will also be filed in the Commission's records. Ms. Anderson will now conduct the public comment period for those speakers who have registered in person today. Ms. Anderson.
Today, we have 8 registered speakers. Speakers, in order to give everyone an opportunity to be heard, we request you limit your comments to 3 minutes. In accordance with the GDC Open Meetings Policy, the public comment period may be limited to 30 minutes. The first speaker is Manhattan Borough President Brad Hoylman Siegel.
Thank you very much. My name is Brad Hoylman Siegel. I'm the Manhattan Borough President. Such an honor to be here with you today, Commissioners, both in person and online. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. I'm testifying on behalf of a number of elected colleagues who represent the Manhattan side of the Gateway project, including Congressman Jerry Nadler, State Senators Liz Krueger and Eric Botcher, and Assemblymember Tony Simone. We represent the federal, state, and city portions of the Gateway project, which includes the Central Business District in Manhattan, the largest central business district in the nation. We're related that construction for Gateway has resumed for the benefit of the hundreds of union construction workers on the project and their families who were left in the lurch during the pause, as well as for the millions of metropolitan area riders affected by delays and the regional economy, which depends on this project. That said, this multi-billion-dollar project, as we've heard, is still in jeopardy if the continued flow of funding is interrupted once again. We implore the federal government to disperse the funds in a timely fashion, as it is legally required to do so, thanks to the advocacy of both of our Governors Hochul and Sherrill, and our New York State Attorney General, Tish James, for getting the money flowing again. Without their intervention, we would still be in a pause. The Gateway Development Corporation, as you know, has met its obligations on schedule and on budget until federal funding was interrupted. The economic importance of this project, the most important infrastructure project in the country, cannot be overstated. The Gateway project is expected to create 95,000 jobs and create $19.6 billion in regional economic activity across the Northeast and beyond. The growth of our regional and national economy depends on the completion of Gateway. In addition to the economic importance of this landmark project, without Gateway, regional transit across the Hudson will end. It's not a matter of if, but when the North River Tunnel will be closed for repairs. However, if Gateway is further delayed, the risks that a complete tunnel closure, jeopardizing billions of dollars of national economic activity, becomes a reality. Many of us have already had the opportunity to tour the project site and witness personally the product of significant investment of government funds, hundreds of hours of sweat equity, and engineering brilliance already expended on Gateway. Trying to turn it back now is not just dangerous, it's reckless and futile. It's also worth highlighting how destructive the stop-and-start pattern from the federal government is. All of the money, time, and effort will be wasted if the federal government stops funding the project now. Gateway affects some of the most complex infrastructure and geography in the tri-state area, including Penn Station, the Hudson River, and the Portal Bridge Replacement Project. A project of this magnitude cannot be stopped and resumed with the flick of a switch. We demand that the federal government provide the funding required to complete Gateway without further delay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate your comments this morning, and in fact, I'd like to invite Co-Chair Glenn to say a few words.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank Brad, who was a tireless supporter of the project when he was in the state Senate, and also note again that one of the most important things about the Gateway project is that it is a long haul, and it transcends administrations and elected officials. And to see the new borough president in his role now spearheading the support for the project, particularly as we move into a phase of the project that we hope where city coordination and making sure the communities are heard on our side of the river is going to be increasingly important. So I just want to thank you, Brad, for your support and look forward to working together, hopefully for only the next 8 years before this project is done. So thank you for coming to New Jersey, and thank you for all of your support.
Thank you. Thanks, Co-Chair Glenn. Over to you again, Ms. Anderson. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next speaker is Councilman Brian Andrews for the Township of Cranford.
Good morning. Thank you for having me join you this morning. I just wanted to take a brief moment to thank the governor and the board for fighting so hard for the Gateway project. My name is Brian Andrews. I'm from the Township of Cranford, serve on the Township Committee. We have a large number of commuters in our town, and I hear all the time the importance of New Jersey Transit, but also deep frustrations with the current level of service. And the answer long-term is Gateway and getting it right. I mean, when I'm out in my community, this is what I hear nonstop. I would also point out that we are on the Raritan Valley line, and our New York friends might not be familiar with this, but in New Jersey, the Raritan Valley line does not have direct train service to New York City. So folks from Cranford and our neighboring communities take a train to cross the street, Newark Penn Station, and then they have to change trains, often change platforms, and then make that final short trip into New York. We believe right now that there is not equitable access to direct train service. This commute adds unnecessary hassle, unnecessary time to residents of Cranford and others who are coming into the city or coming home in the evenings from their jobs. Immediately, we would like to see a change to the schedules, but I recognize that a long-term equitable solution is increasing the tunnel capacity, and that is Gateway. So we have a particular interest in getting this project done. Thank you so much for your fight. Thank you for the work that's already been done, including the Portal Bridge, which has been a major headache in the past, and very excited that that finished early and is operating now. And please keep up the fight. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Alex Pena for Partnership for New York City.
Good morning, Commissioners. Morning to the board here and remote. My name is Alex Pena, serving as the Executive Vice President for the Partnership for New York City. Thank you for the opportunity to share our strong support for the continued advancement of a fully funded Gateway program. And just want to note, grateful to be here today and following remarks by Governor Sherrill, as well as Borough President Hoyman-Siegel. The Partnership for New York City is a nonprofit organization that mobilizes private sector resources and expertise to advance New York City's standing as a global center of economic opportunity, upward mobility, and innovation. We represent 300 corporate investment and entrepreneurial firms whose members support nearly 1 million jobs in New York. We are encouraged by the Gateway Development Commission has been able to resume construction since we testified in January. The $16 billion Gateway program and the Hudson Tunnel project in particular is one of the most consequential infrastructure investments in the entire Northeast Corridor. The Hudson Tunnel project is essential for securing a reliable cross-Hudson rail connection and increasing capacity between Newark and New York Penn Station. However, the project, as we all know, remains at risk. The recent federal funding suspension halted construction, laid off 1,000 workers, and created unnecessary uncertainty. While we welcome the court-ordered disbursement of funds, owed funds that be it, the interruption itself was both extremely costly and avoidable. Without uninterrupted federal disbursements, workers who are back on the job today could face another shutdown in the coming months. The existing tunnel, now more than 115 years old and heavily damaged by Superstorm Sandy, remains a single point of failure along the nation's busiest rail corridor. Any further delay to the Gateway Development Program increases the risk of service interruptions that would constrain workforce mobility, negatively impact commerce, and impose billions of dollars in economic losses, things that the partnership does not stand for. Start and stop funding is especially damaging for major infrastructure projects. Even brief interruptions drive up costs through disrupted schedules and increased financing burdens. We will not see a return on the billions of dollars already invested if the construction is forced to stop. That is the actual reality. The partnership commends the Gateway Development Commission and its board and its partners for meeting every construction milestone and demonstrating strong governance and execution since construction began in 2023. That momentum must be protected. The courts have been clear. The federal government must honor its legally binding funding commitments. Predictable, uninterrupted funding is essential to deliver this project on time and on budget. The Hudson Tunnel Project is a foundational investment in the reliability, resilience, and economic strength of the Northeast Corridor and for New York City. We urge the federal administration to honor its commitments and ensure continued support so this critical project can move forward without delay. Thank you for your leadership and continued stewardship of this essential program. I appreciate it.
Mr. Penna, if you can, please say hi to Mr. Fulop for me.
Absolutely will. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jerry Keenan, New Jersey Alliance for Action.
Well, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. My name is Jerry Keenan. I'm the president of the New Jersey Alliance for Action. The Alliance for Action is a 52-year-old organization of business, labor, government, academia, utility companies, really just about all walks of life. But we have one goal, and that's to make sure New Jersey is promoting its infrastructure investment to keep pace with the needs of all of our residents. Talking about getting to work, getting to schools, clean water, and so on. This project, look, who said this project was going to be easy? But who said it was going to be this tough? It's ridiculous. What we've been seeing here is we're hearing the tunnel boring machines are being put together. Tunnelly Avenue Bridge now is complete. These are wonderful, wonderful milestones. But what Jim had to say, Jim Starace, is really eye-opening. This delay has long-lasting impacts on the entire project. These are delays that should not have happened. Again, we said it was going to be hard, but not this hard. These kinds of delays cannot be put up with in the future. It is critical that Washington put forth the monies that it promised us, that said we would have. It's critical we can do that. We received that. I want to congratulate the Gateway Development Commission, the governors of New York and New Jersey, Amtrak, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey Transit, and all of the other partners that work so goddamn hard to make sure we get this money. And I can tell you, as the leader of the Alliance for Action, we will continue doing that. We'll continue working on the front line to make sure future funding is not delayed. And I'm looking forward to working with all you over here. Thank you very much for your time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. The next speaker is Chad Perky, Association for a Better New York.
Good morning. My name is Chad Perky. I'm the Vice President with the Association for a Better New York, known as ABNY. As a proud member of the Build Gateway Now coalition, ABNY would like to acknowledge and congratulate the Gateway Development Commission on successfully resuming construction on the Hudson River Tunnel project after the federal government's recent lapse in disbursing contracted funds. This was a major victory for the Commission and the hundreds of workers whose jobs were impacted by the Trump administration's actions. Though this victory is a step in the right direction, we know that risks still remain. The government must continue to make timely disbursement of contracted funds to ensure workers do not experience lapses in work or pay in the future. As we have acknowledged many times over the past several years and before the recent funding pause, the Commission has incredibly met every major construction deadline on time and on schedule. To maintain this track record and in order to protect the billions of taxpayers' dollars already invested to date, the federal government must maintain timely payments in order for the project to be completed and to avoid unnecessary waste. ABNY, along with our Build Gateway Now coalition partners, is proud to continue to support the Gateway project and the nearly 95,000 jobs and over $19 billion in economic activity it'll generate, benefiting the nation's entire economy. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Robert Campos for Laborers Local 472.
Good morning. I am Robert Campos, Vice President and Business Representative for Laborers Local 472. I'm here today on behalf of our business manager, Manny Amador, and the nearly 8,000 skilled heavy and general construction laborers who live and work on infrastructure projects throughout northern New Jersey. When February 6th arrived and layoffs occurred for our almost 100 members employed on Gateway Tunnel projects at the time, we could offer little insight on when the shutdown would end. Frankly, we could offer no rational reason why the shutdown was happening at all. The Gateway Tunnel program is fully funded and fully appropriated. I have been in labor for the last 3.5 decades, and the only work interruptions on capital projects like the Gateway occur for technical reasons, such as unanticipated engineering issues. What does not shut down ongoing projects and should not shut down projects like Gateway is political issues, and the previous shutdown absolutely reeks of politics. I speak for all our diverse membership, regardless of how they vote. Let's keep the political retribution, the gamesmanship, the withholding of funds out of our capital programs. Allow us to do our work so rail passengers up and down the East Coast, and most especially in the New York, New Jersey metropolitan area, can get to their work. I'd like to thank Governor Sherrill for her continued obsession with this project and for her support of our members. I thank the Gateway Commission for their steadfast support and for all the work both you and your staff have done to fight for this critical project, to fight for what is right, and more personally, for Labor's Local 472 to fight for our jobs. We are truly grateful. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today.
Thank you. The next speaker is Rob Lewandowski for Leona.
Good morning. My name is Rob Lewandowski, and I'm External Relations Director for New Jersey LESIT. And we're the labor management partnership for the laborers union. The skilled trades workers employed by Local 472 on Gateway projects and the contractors who employ them. Now, given the work I do, 27 years of experience in the industry, one would expect me to come up here and give the technical reasons for why Gateway should be fully funded, uninterrupted. But I'd like to share something a little more personal. A few weeks ago, my college-age daughter had plans to attend a show in New York City with her aunt. Now, she was excited. Her mom, dad were excited for her. And we're a family that loves the convenience and environmental benefits of public transportation. So we were happy to drive our daughter to the Hamilton train station so that she could meet up with her aunt, go to the show, have a great time. And unfortunately, at that time, we had a difficult logistical challenge. An electrical issue on the old Portal Bridge caused numerous and significant delays. A quick crunching of the numbers in the Hamilton parking lot, and we came to the conclusion she'd be late for her rendezvous with her aunt, and she would not make it in time for the show. So consequently, we had to make decisions, and that's what we did. So we drove her to Manhattan, and it would take 60 miles and about an hour and a half to get there, about the same amount of mileage and time heading back. Turnpike tolls, $10, Lincoln Tunnel toll, $17, New York congestion pricing, another $9, $36. And that doesn't include my gas costs, the cost of my time, the wear and tear. But here's the deal. We were able to execute a plan B because we could. You know, it was Saturday, I was off from work, we were fortunate enough to have the funds to incur unplanned costs. But of course, I know, and I think you know, that not everyone has that luxury to call an audible and drive into the city when rail service stalls. And individuals and families are so dependent on that transportation system to operate safely and efficiently to get them to where they need to be. We can talk about the Gateway in terms of its size and scope. We can throw out $16 billion and 116-year-old infrastructure. But I really want to focus on the ones. The one person that needs to get at work on time, the one person that needs to get to a show, to a doctor's appointment, home to their families, that they are folks that suffer when there are interruptions. Capital programs like Gateway should not face this type of arbitrary, almost whimsical interruptions. We need better. I thank the Gateway Development Commission for the work that you've done and to keep up that fight, not just for a $16 billion project, but for every individual that needs you. So thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Garth Narr for Avatar Tech.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here. And I wanted to first start off by thanking the Commission and the governors and everybody involved with fighting to keep the funding flowing for this generational, one-of-a-kind project. I'm Garth Narr, CEO and founder of Avatar Tech. We're a MWBE, DBE firm with the Port Authority, New York, New Jersey. Of course, when momentum is stopped, the primes feel it, and it causes a large degree of uncertainty, and that can be even more devastating for subcontractors like ours. We're locally based here in Newark, New Jersey, just a short walk over here. So I'm glad for this meeting being held so close. But I want to say, okay, when primes slow down due to funding gaps, it's the subcontractors, especially DBE, LBE, and MWBE firms who absorb the risk. A lot of times we have money laid out, and with paid when paid contracts occur. Those delays can cause critical capital crunches as well. So we just want everybody to keep in mind some of these downstream impacts to subcontractors such as ourselves. And also want to highlight some of the some issues we're finding. There's a degree of lack of visibility into upcoming bid packages for LBE, DBE firms such as ours, difficulty accessing decision makers within prime contractor teams, inconsistent enforcement of DBE, MWBE utilization commitments. And we understand that with the uncertainty that some of the prime contractors have, they may be a little less willing to make long-term plans and commitments, just as it causes impacts for the subcontractors to do the same too. So I encourage us to find a way to mitigate those risks going forward. And I just want to say I recommend increased transparency, publish forward-looking subcontracting opportunities and timelines, enforce accountability, track and publicly report actual DBE, MWBE utilization, not just commitments, early engagement, require primes to include diverse firms during design and pre-construction phases, break up contract packages, create scopes that are appropriately sized for small and mid-sized firms, prompt payment projections, ensure subcontractors are paid on time, especially during funding delays, or if there's contingencies that could be made during these funding delays. This project represents more than infrastructure. It's an opportunity to build economic equity alongside physical connectivity. If local diverse firms like Avatar Tech, Avatech are fully included, the Gateway Tunnel project can become a national model, not just for engineering, but for equitable development. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. There are no more speakers.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson, and members of the public for your comments this morning. We will now turn to the action items. If I could get Mr. Prendergast up. Actually, sorry.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you.
Morning.
Oh, sure. Good morning, Commissioners, and thank you. I'm Will Fletcher, the Inspector General for the Gateway Development Commission. The Hudson Tunnel project is a significant investment of public funds that requires a strong commitment to ensure that every dollar is spent as intended for the project to be completed within scope, schedule, and budget. Today, we are seeking the board's approval to enter into 2 integrity monitoring contracts to provide the critical safeguards necessary to support that commitment and establish the independent oversight necessary to protect the public interest throughout construction at all of the GDC projects. Integrity monitors are subject matter experts, investigators, analysts, auditors, engineers, providing real-time oversight that helps GDC deter and detect fraud, prioritize efficiency and safety, and ensure that the project complies with relevant laws and regulations. Integrity monitoring is an FTA best practice for projects of the scope and scale of the Hudson Tunnel Project and has become standard for large infrastructure projects in the region. I'm also pleased to report that GDC leadership has fully supported the decision to have integrity monitors on our projects. As construction ramps up and expands across several sites, the integrity monitors will provide critical boots-on-the-ground oversight, working with and reporting their findings to the OIG. The selection of DeLuca Advisory Services and the Cone-Resnick Guidepost Solutions joint venture was the result of a competitive procurement process that yielded a robust response from the marketplace. And I'd like to take this moment to show our appreciation to the procurement team led by Anthony Gardner, Amy Hall, and Ezekiel Bly for bringing this procurement to this point. Selected from a pool of 16 proposers, these firms have worked on some of the largest infrastructure projects in the region, alongside GDC's partners on the Hudson Tunnel Project. Members of GDC's legal, finance, procurement, and internal audit teams were part of the selection committee. The initial terms of the contracts are 5 years, with the option to extend for up to 3 additional years. In approving these contracts, the board will help ensure that the Hudson Tunnel Project is delivered with the highest industry standards of transparency, accountability, and public trust, reinforcing GDC's commitment to delivering the project responsibly for the millions of people in the region who depend on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Do any of the commissioners wish to comment? Are you?
No, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Tom, are you going to present it again for the action item?
Yes. We have 3 action items for the board today. First, an administration action establishing the board meeting schedule for the remainder of the year.
Thank you, Mr. Prendergast. Now, do any of the commissioners wish to comment? Is there a motion from a commissioner to consider this resolution?
I'll make the motion.
Thanks, Victor. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I move this motion to a vote. Ms. Anderson, please call the roll.
Co-Chair Gray-Walberg,
Yes.
Co-Chair Glenn,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kosha,
Yes.
Commissioner Dominguez exited the meeting at 11 a.m. Commissioner Barbas,
Yes.
Commissioner Herlinsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Bryas.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you.
The second item authorizes GDC to enter into the integrity monitoring contracts that Will just explained.
Thank you, Mr. Prendergast. Do any of the commissioners wish to comment? Is there a motion from a commissioner to consider this resolution?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Victor. Second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I'll second.
Thank you, Tony. Any discussion? I move this motion to a vote. Ms. Anderson, please call the roll.
Co-Chair Gray-Walberg,
Yes.
Co-Chair Glenn,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kosha,
Yes.
Commissioner Barbas,
Yes.
Commissioner Herlinsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Braz.
Yes.
The motion passes. Prior to the next action item, I will note for the record that Co-Chair Gray-Walberg has been recused from the action item involving contract GDC 26032 OP to Millbank LLC. Co-Chair Gray-Walberg will not participate in the discussion or vote on the action item during the meeting. Co-Chair Glenn, will you take over being the chair of the meeting?
Certainly. Do I have a motion to move this item?
I'll make the,
Motion.
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have any other comments or questions on this item for other commissioners? If none, I'll ask you to move the motion.
Okay, and I think I presented the third action item for Tom, but Tom, did you want to say anything about it?
Well, for the purpose of clarity, I will make some points. We have a resolution authorizing GDC's contract with Millbank LLP Services related to our lawsuit against the federal government. GDC retired Millbank LLC as the lead litigation counsel in late January 2026 through an emergency procurement in accordance with GDC's procurement guidelines. The Millbank team has a stellar reputation as a litigation and appellate firm, and its partners include top legal professionals with the specific expertise and experience needed to litigate this rare type of case. Their success to date has demonstrated that unique expertise in cases like GDC's.
Okay, I'll now call the roll on the motion made by Commissioner Herlinsky and seconded by Commissioner Braz. Co-Chair Glenn?
Yes.
Vice Chair Kosha?
Yes.
Commissioner Barbas?
Yes.
Commissioner Herlinsky?
Yes.
Commissioner Braz?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you, Co-Chair Glenn. There being no further business to conduct today, I motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. I move this motion to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning. Appreciate you.